Well, good day, everyone. It's been a pleasure to welcome my colleagues, the Swedish Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson, to Finland for talks on the serious security situation in Europe. We strongly condemn Russia's military aggression against Ukraine. Russia's actions are also an attack on the entire European security order. Russia must immediately cease hostilities, withdraw its military from Ukraine, and fully respect Ukraine's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence. Finland also condemns Belarus' involvement in the attack in Ukraine. Finland and Sweden stand together with the other member states of the European Union in support to Ukraine. The European Union has responded to Russia's attack with determination and unity. The comprehensive and severe sanctions we have imposed on Russia are hitting Russia's economy very hard. These sanctions send a strong message that a flagrant violation of international law and the UN Charter comes at a price. Our thoughts are on the side of Ukraine and the Ukrainian citizens. We are deeply saddened by the human suffering and the loss of life. Finland has assisted Ukraine financially with humanitarian aid as well as with prospective equipment and weapons. Work on behalf of Ukrainians will continue with assistance to Ukrainians who have had to leave their homes and their homeland. Russia's war against sovereign European nation puts the European security order at risk. In this changing security environment, Finland and Sweden will further enhance our cooperation. We value very much the close defense cooperation with Sweden. Our countries are not directly under threat, but it is clear that we have to assess the security in our own region together, share our analysis and deepen our cooperation. This is why we meet here today, and our Ministers of Defense are having their own bilateral discussions as we speak. And finally, Finland and Sweden have recently decided to strengthen our interaction with NATO. This means that we have better access to coordination, cooperation, and shape situational awareness in the current serious security situation. I will now give the floor to dear colleague, Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for inviting me here and the possibility to come to Helsinki on such a beautiful Saturday. And I'm not going to reiterate all the important things that my dear colleague said about the terrible situation that we are in Europe right now. And it was a very dark chapter of European history that started last Thursday. And from a Swedish government perspective, we also condemn in the strongest possible wording the attack on Ukraine and the illegal invasion of Ukraine. And just as my colleague said, this is not only an attack on Ukraine, this is an attack on the European security order and an attack on democratic countries' possibility to or right to by themselves make their independent choices of on their future. Finland is Sweden's closest partner, especially when it comes to foreign and defense policy, and this is the reason it was important to me to come today to visit Prime Minister Marin, but also President Niinistö. And my visit takes place as part of the increased coordination that takes place continuously between our countries. From a Swedish government perspective, where we are working in three different areas in this situation, and also, of course, together with our partners. The first is sanctions against Russia, and here I'm so happy that we have been so united within the European Union, but also with other partners like the UK, Canada, and USA, but now also Switzerland, with these very strong sanctions against Russia. That will very much affect their economy, but also that we could agree on sanctions against Belarus. That's very important. So sanctions, one thing. The other part is supporting Ukraine, And here we have been able to support Ukraine from a European, together in the European Union, both when it comes to humanitarian and military aid. In Sweden, we have, just as Finland, supported Ukraine bilaterally, also by humanitarian aid, financial help, but also with military aid. And the third thing is to strengthen our countries. And that's something that we, of course, continuously do. And in Sweden, we are right now discussing further increases in the military spending. We also discussed about how Sweden and Finland can cooperate on important issues like these further within the European Union. And of course, a very close cooperation between Sweden and Finland is something that makes us stronger in this very special situation.
Thank you. And now we have a possibility for a few questions as well. Yeah.
From CT News Agency in Sweden. In both Sweden and Finland, there's an increasing support for joining NATO among the public. Soon to be about 50% or more than 50% in Finland. What are your thoughts about this, and did you discuss this?
Yes, we discussed the matter. I think it's very understandable that the mindset of our citizens is changing during the Russia's actions attacked against Ukraine. So I think this is very understandable. People are worried about the security situation also in Nordic countries, in Finland, in Sweden, in Europe as a whole. And of course these issues comes to light, and we are also discussing these matters together. We are now having the discussion in Finland where we are thinking and deliberating our security position in the current situation, and we will have these discussions within our parliament, with the president, with our government, and also all the parties. So we will discuss these matters, and of course people's mindset are changing because of Russia's actions.
Yes, I mean, just as my colleague said, this is very understandable that in this situation more people are thinking about security issues, and that you would see a shift in the opinion. And we are in a new security situation after last week. The security situation has been altered in a dramatic way. And of course this will be discussed in Finland. But of course, I mean, I met the party leaders of the Swedish parties in parliament several times during the last week. And of course we're discussing a number of issues.
Lauri Nurmi from Alma Media. One question to both Prime Ministers. Are Sweden and Finland asking for major non-NATO allies status or similar kind of advantages those countries have from the United States? And if I mean deepening of the concrete military cooperation, and if Sweden and Finland were join NATO, should it happen hand in hand together? Thank you.
Well, I think it's very important that we are discussing together about the security situation with Sweden. We have very close relations with Sweden in defense also, and we have had bilateral talks within the week many times. And I think it's very important also that my dear colleague Magdalena is here today, and also the defense minister and the defense ministers are having the discussion. Later today we will meet President Niinistö as well and have a discussion together about all of these issues.
What about new status?
I won't comment that on this stage.
Yes, I mean, we have had the cooperation between Sweden and Finland when it comes to the defense area has been closer and closer for a number of years. But I mean, we're also working closer and closer together with other partners, both Finland and Sweden, in the joint expeditionary force and also with NATO. So I mean, we do see a closer cooperation now than we've seen for maybe closer than ever.
Sam Kingsley from news agency AFP. Yesterday, President Niinistö said that in the event of an attack, Finland would receive a lot of support from the EU, and the UK Defence Minister said to Sweden that they would provide help. Would this help go beyond what is currently being given to Ukraine, for example? What would this help actually entail?
Well, at this stage of discussing these matters, it's in a very general level, of course. I think we would see help in different forms, material help, financial help, but the difficult question is, would somebody give militarily help, send soldiers to our countries if the situation would be that kind in one of our countries or both? This isn't the situation. I must say that also in this forum that there isn't any acute threat towards Finland, not to
Or
my knowledge
Sweden.
towards Sweden. So this is all speculation.
But you haven't received any sort of guarantees of military help in the last couple of days.
We are discussing later today with President Niinistö, and he will, of course, tell us more about the meeting with President Biden, and he have already commented publicly that we will deepen the cooperation between our countries.
Yes, and I mean, I think a difference is also we are members of the European Union, and that there is a solidarity statement between countries within the European Union. And on top of that, I think the UK Defence Minister was rather vocal yesterday on how willing he would be to support Sweden and Finland. But having said that, we don't see an immediate military threat towards Sweden, and I understand Finland as well.
Thank you.
Juha-Pekka Räiste from Finnish Press and Helsingin Sanomat. So I would like to ask from Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson that do you think that referendum is needed in Sweden in order to clarify whether or not you to join NATO?
Well, it's a hypothetical question, but it's not always. All issues are not necessarily best decided within a referendum.
Okay. And when Joe Biden called you yesterday, can you please tell what was it all about?
It was a very friendly call. He underlined he appreciated very much the visit from President Niinistö and Finland, that they had been discussing a closer cooperation, and I also said it's something that of course we also are interested in, a close cooperation with the United States, and then I also thanked him for bringing back United States on the international scene and in the multilateral organizations in a way we didn't see quite as intensely during the former president.
Okay, thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you later.
See you.